As soon as the door was pushed open, the smell of perfume in the distance immediately hit his nose. Right at the door, a pair of red heels with a dazzling design that was the type she hated the most was lying there quietly. The familiar voice of the husband came from the bedroom, but the person he was whispering love to was clearly not her. Just now, Misa also received a call from the insurance company. She once bought an insurance for her grandmother who has Alzheimer's. However, the beneficiary was quietly changed to her husband's name. At the right time when life is running out because of a terminal disease, the last thing she saw was such a heartbreaking scene. It was indeed the ultimate humiliation. But there is not only one traitor. Even she herself cried sincerely in front of the hospital bed yesterday. He also appeared with the same man today. When the two words of insurance money reached her ears, the husband's face immediately changed. The plan he had worked hard to arrange for many years was just waiting for this moment. If something goes wrong, even his mother, who works in an insurance company, will find it difficult to get out of the relationship. Therefore, he would not let anyone ruin everything. In the end, she fell from the 10th floor. The pain through the bones cuts through the body. Every breath is like a blade swirling into the chest. Chaotic memories flashed back. Confusion and distractions when starting to enter society. Then get married, a short period of time temporarily called happiness. Everything, in the end, turned into a thick pool of blood which ended in extreme pain. However, when she opened her eyes again, she found herself sitting at her desk. He had already gone to heaven and still had to work hard like this. Maybe this was hell. But everything around is too real. Misa tried to keep her composure. After her gaze swept over the other man, all reason immediately shattered. It was the man who had just pushed her into the abyss, and now he was still smiling and talking to her in the elevator. A nameless feeling rolled her teeth, but as soon as she stepped outside, she ran into Rena. Maybe this is still just an unending nightmare. Misa had to leave first to calm her mind. On the street, the electronic board clearly shows the date, 2015. Could it be that she really went back 10 years ago? At this time, she is still not sick, and there are no abnormal signs on her face. God gave her a chance to start over. I returned to that same day 10 years ago. In the past, she used to be her closest friend. But it was because of my negligence that the company suffered a big loss, and she herself had to resign herself. In order not to repeat the mistake, this time she took the initiative to take the guest card, preparing everything. Fortunately, this time it was close to the time, and she was no longer late for her appointment. She had already experienced such a time, and this time she calmly explained the plan without a hint of haste. However, as soon as he was talking badly, the memories of his past life came flooding back. The mouse remembered that the Chin milk tea imported from Taiwan will soon explode throughout the market. But when he returned to the company, the project was rejected again. Although she can foresee future trends, she also understands that it is not easy to spread the limits of human vision. The next day, when she was working overtime, her mind was chaotic. She even forgot that she had been burned by that kettle in her previous life. At the moment when thousands of pounds hung by that hair, it was the head of the department who helped her stop the collision. That made her unconsciously realize many things. Misa remembers her favorite candy when she was a child. Whenever she was sad, just sucking on one of them calmed her mood. It turned out that the head of the department had been paying attention to her for a long time. Ronagi's death was originally a prearranged affair, just hoping that it would come a little sooner. Tonight, it was the night the other man was going to propose to her. Thinking of the days when I used to cry because of that cheap feeling, now I only find it funny. This time, she wanted to throw away her weakness and truly master her own destiny. If things that should have happened had to happen, then just change the main character. He saw the girl sitting quietly by the riverbank. His melancholy look made him worried that she would think about it, and hurriedly approached him and asked him. Since that day, she had stopped by every day to visit the little turtle, and he didn't know when he had gotten used to looking forward to her appearance. The girl was heartless. Every time she came to the pond, she was only busy chatting with the turtle or playing with the kitten. When he saw that scene, he couldn't help but laugh. However, that peaceful university life did not last long. According to the arrangement of his wealthy father, he was forced to give up the path of research to enter the market. It was extremely difficult to give up his ideals, and that sadness made it impossible for him to sit outside. At that moment, the girl suddenly burst into tears and ran away, looking in a hurry, making him confused. He hurriedly chased after her, intending to give her the umbrella, but when he was only one step away, he stopped nakedly. The bus slowly rolled, gradually disappearing from sight. Their relationship also ended on such a wet rainy day. His youth kept choking and stuck in his throat. It wasn't until later that he found out that it was the day the girl's father died of a serious illness. But in the middle of the sweltering summer, the pond has dried up. The girl nervously walked down to the middle of the pond looking for the figure of the little turtle. Her heart was full of tenderness, but there was no one around to share. She could only swallow those feelings in her heart. At that moment, he was still the same as before, silently watching her, not daring to let his feelings bother her, because after entering the company, she had an official boyfriend. He remembered the scene where he saw her boyfriend give her a scarf. In his heart, he was so uncomfortable that he let go of his words. Actually, he shouldn't have existed in the girl's story. But this time, he finally got a name. He was angry with himself for not daring to be frank for so many years, because they are used to loving secretly, keeping their distance. The more he cares, the more he doesn't know how to deal with it. As for the distant eyelashes, he was completely unaware that the cold-looking superior secretly liked him. Even more unbeknownst to her, she had also been reborn. Mi Xe was invited by her best friend to a high-class restaurant for a meal. As soon as she walked in, she immediately felt countless cold eyes as they looked at her. Sitting around the table were all old high school classmates, and she, no different from the goal for them to whisper and criticize. Therefore, the time I was tricked by Rina to come to that class meeting, Mi Xian, who had only eaten half of the meal, hurriedly hid in the toilet, accidentally heard others speak ill of him behind his back, and finally ran away in panic. Looking at the calendar on the computer screen, I saw that the class meeting date was coming up again. Mi Xian clenched her hands, determined to change that tragic fate. On weekends, I took the initiative to visit a famous bakery in the city to try sweets. Coincidentally, the manager of the Suzuki department also came to investigate. After eating, when she was about to say goodbye, she said that she wanted to go buy clothes because she had cleaned up and thrown away old things in the morning. Unexpectedly, he walked around the city with the head of the department. But the price of clothes here is really too high. Me how didn't want to owe anyone anything, just looked. As she chatted, she saw a brightly colored sweater. Normally, she rarely wears that style, but this time she wanted to try it. Coming out of the store, she saw a very suitable dress again, but she had to ignore it because of the high price. Even though it has been revived once, the habit of saving is still not easy to break. Tired, the two stopped by the cafe to rest. At that moment, the distant phone appeared with a call from Rina. Today is the day of the class meeting, but Mi Xe will not let the old story happen again. Listening to the head of the Suzuki department talking, her mood was much more relieved. For a long time, she has always been passive, never once resisted. It is not tolerance, but weakness. When she was about to break up, her colleague came to call. If it was in the script of an idol movie, the head of the department would probably buy her that dress. But Suzuki didn't. This time, she put on her favorite dress, the hairstyle she wanted, determined to say goodbye to the weak self of the previous day. When she entered the restaurant for a class meeting, she was no longer a car-shy and reserved washing person like before. When everyone was about to leave, suddenly someone stood up, and it was Yuto. His skin has also been rejected by others, and for many years he has always misunderstood his eyelashes. Yuto made it all clear so that those who used to bully others in the name of the cause. The real face must be revealed to be just a pack of wolves in 9 coats. Seeing that her eyelashes had now changed, strong, and dared to resist, Rina was completely silent. That girl was no longer a weak eyelash every day. Only when you are strong enough can others really see and be wary of you. This time, she really broke up with her yesterday's self. As soon as he stepped out of the restaurant, it suddenly rained. And at that moment, Suzuki appeared. He was not her savior, nor did he want to be her savior. He just wanted to stand shoulder to shoulder with her, fight to the end. Rina deliberately solved 50 chocolates on the stairs, watching the moment when the superior just passed by, then pretended to rush down, take the opportunity to fall into that man's lap. The man in front of the head of the Suzuki department was the target she had targeted. At all costs, it must be equal. The reason why Rina did so was simply because she wanted to take revenge on the person who used to be her best friend, Messiah. To achieve her goal, Rina secretly monitored her eyelashes during her lunch break, seeing her meet Yuto at the cafe. She immediately pretended to be repentant and took the initiative to start a conversation. For more than 10 years of acquaintance, Rina is confident that no one understands her better than her. Just a little thinning, it will definitely make your eyes soften. But Rina didn't know she had seen through everything. Because the distant eyelashes are no longer the distant eyelashes of the past. She was reborn and returned 10 years later. Pretending to make peace with Rina was just to trap her. It's just that this rebirth is not exactly the same as the previous life. According to common sense, it was not until Christmas Eve that Rina broke up with her ex-boyfriend, but now there are different signs. Just by looking at Rina's eyes looking at Suzuki's room, she understood. It was Suzuki's appearance this time that changed Rina's focus. Compared to a mediocre person like Ayuto, it was clear that Suzuki was a more worthy target. Returning to the company, she faced a series of new troubles. Superiors constantly make it difficult, forcing them to revise their plans over and over again. In his previous life, because he was not satisfied, he helped him until he was exhausted. In the end, the superiors still chose the original plan, completely ignoring anyone. But this time, she wouldn't stupidly repeat that mistake. She was determined not to let herself be taken advantage of. The troublemaker had to bear the consequences himself. Unexpectedly, the sample grape project after approval sold well beyond expectations. I thought that this time she and the head of the department would be praised. Unexpectedly, his superiors would shake hands with Rina to steal the work, and even pushed the head of the department out of the project. Meanwhile, Rina still didn't stop. She also deliberately found her fiancé. Words that push implicitly disparage eyelashes are all sorts of things. But the distant eyelashes of the present are different from before. She focused all her energy on her work, determined not to let anyone take her achievements. And to keep the initiative, Suzuki is the most perfect choice. However, while unknowingly, the distant eyelashes discovered a shocking secret. Suzuki and another friend of hers were sneaking back and forth. At that moment, she left the scene silently, but still couldn't avoid being confronted again. However, personal life is jealous, work is still the top priority. She brought the model grape plan to find Suzuki. Suzuki's half-truths and half-jokes made her not know how to react. At that moment, Mixa accidentally saw a message from Rina to Suzuki. The content was full of darkness. The person you like is standing in front of you, but your old best friend is sending an open message to that person. Suzuki looked at the distance with embarrassment in her heart. She also lied. Suzuki hurriedly chased after him to explain, but did not have time to speak, because, for the past 10 years, he has only been a person outside the story, always quietly in love with the distant eyelashes, but never dared to say it. In order to help her best friend and her boyfriend become a couple, she gave up the extra seat to Rina, and I happily sat in the back seat. But as soon as he got into the car, from head to toe, Rina's contempt was clearly revealed. I don't consider your boyfriend far away at all. Suzuki is like a flower peach player. On the outside, he is dating Mirai, another friend of hers, yet today accepted Rina's invitation. The two of them were also extremely intimate. The worst thing is, if you let things go on like this, her stupid boyfriend has absolutely no chance of winning. As soon as she let her guard down, Rina began to let go of the hint at the corner. At the same time, a man who looks like a movie star is performing baking, capture all eyes. Mixa thought he was trying to impress her, but it turned out to be completely misunderstood. Because of the plan, she couldn't conveniently refuse, but listening to other people's sarcasm still makes her uncomfortable. However, she couldn't reveal her true feelings, afraid of making the atmosphere more tense. In fact, she didn't need to suppress that much if she found a reliable place to confide in. It's like having a tree hollow to hide the mood. Perhaps all fatigue will also be much lighter. Seeing Rina's satisfied smile, Mixa tried to stay calm. But when even Suzuki showed a reproachful look, she really couldn't understand anymore. In the middle of the party, while washing vegetables, Suzuki took the initiative to step forward to help. In the end, Mixa couldn't help but force her mouth to ask directly, "A flower digger like you, where does he rely to interfere in my love affairs?" Angry to the extreme, she let go of her harsh words. But when everything was clarified, Mixa regretted it so much that she just wanted to find a hole in the ground. It turns out that Suzuki is worried that his sister will be treated unfairly in the company, so he deliberately hides it, not really wandering. As for Rina, she deliberately acted. The day before, the whole company went to a foreign commune. On the way back, she stumbled upon Rina, who seemed to be unusually intimate with the head of the department. So when Rina came home, she went back to sleep. Mi-exe spread all kinds of baseless rumors, just to make her friend confused and caught off guard, and to prevent Rina from shifting the target to someone else. At the company, she began to avoid Suzuki. Suzuki was cold and didn't understand why, only thinking that he was being challenged. So after work, he stood quietly waiting under the company's house, wanting to know what he had done wrong. But just as the two of them met, Rina also came out from inside. To avoid being detected, he hurriedly pulled the easy Suzuki to another way. It was that close moment, her panicked gaze and hasty action, that made Suzuki unmove. Suzuki tries to explain it all with the speed of saying the donkey's name. I just hope Rina doesn't misunderstand. I swear that killing someone is just a mistake. At this time, Rina was sitting and deleting each photo of Suzuki on her phone. When Rina was still busy deleting photos, she didn't know that her plan had already begun to be implemented. Miao was very clear, wanting to provoke Rina. There is only one way to express absolute happiness, so happy that it makes people go crazy. On the way, she deliberately put her arm around Ino, the man next to her, laughing intimately, deliberately leaving Rina behind. Rina looked at them, frowning, full of contempt. She really didn't understand why she liked such a stupid man. But obviously, this was your calculation, because she knew Rina, who grew up lacking her mother's love. Always a person who wants to love but never believes in love. Rina only seeks a sense of security through money. Just looking at the skin of her former boyfriends is enough to see clearly. Therefore, Ino, a mediocre office worker, had no door in Rina's eyes. However, when it comes to monetization, Ino is not simple. While the two were chatting in the corner of the desk, Rina's gloomy eyes suddenly lit up. It was as if he had just hit a new prey. She slowly walked forward, her eyes as cold as a razor. Although being forced to be intimate with Ino all day long makes her want to vomit. But when she saw Rina's interest again, Misa was almost agitated to the point of trembling. The plan was half successful. Taking advantage of the moment when Misa left, Rina walked up to Ino and gently pressed her hand on his hand, gently swiping down her cheekbones. Smiling is just charming and proactive. Ino, who had just woken up from a lost dream, instead of avoiding it, accepted it directly. Because actually, compared to the innocent girlfriend, you see, he was attracted to the type of woman who was much more shy like Rina. In the distance, Misa silently watched everything. He once witnessed the daughter he loved deeply fall from the 8th floor down. When they met again, the girl became the protagonist in A Cold and Heavy Monk. But in that crowd of monks, her future mother-in-law laughed and trembled. And just before the laughter stopped, the police came with an arrest warrant in hand. Not defending is her fiancé, the man she once loved, and her best friend. Hearing that news, Suzuki was in extreme pain. He crossed the chaotic crowd, walking straight to the corpse of the Misa. He would not let her die in the hands of such people and then be forgotten. Since Misa broke up with her boyfriend earlier than in her previous life, so there was no one to take her place and she was caught up in the tragic end. Fortunately, this time Suzuki did not miss the opportunity. Escaping the danger, Misa returns home to get dressed, but the noise outside the door catches her attention. Suzuki always knows how to keep moderation, standing outside shy and not daring to enter, but he sang non-stop because of the cold. In the end, thanks to Misa's resolute invitation to enter, he refused to go inside. He couldn't say all the things in his heart. From the first time I met Mass in college to the reunion at the company, then the times when her heart was moved by sincerity. Even years later, when he found out she was terminally ill, his heart tightened in pain. After a long time, Suzuki spoke up to confess his feelings. You are so good that people don't dare to come close. He couldn't believe that to be able to stand in front of her today, he had to take more than 10 years. Misa knew she shouldn't be shaken, but Suzuki's words made it hard for her not to be moved. At the same time, Rina received a call from Arano, her ex-boyfriend, who was crying bitterly. Tears and runny nose filled his face. Rina comforted the outside of her mouth, but the corners of her mouth twitched slightly, smiling contentedly. As long as Misa didn't believe her, she was happy. She absolutely couldn't let Misa live happier than herself. The next morning, Misa and her best friend Mirai go to work, but her heart is full of worry. As soon as she turned through the small street, she met her ex-boyfriend Arano. He starts to blame and get angry, but Misa only gently advises Mirai to leave to avoid being dragged in. At this time, she couldn't cut it off completely. Waiting until Rina really wanted to rob Arano was the best time for her to retreat. Sure enough, Rina was extremely excited to imagine the scene of Misa crying at the party, and I will sit across from him and laugh. But the result was completely opposite to her imagination. In terms of calm Misa, the stern words made Rina embarrassed. After a gentle counterattack with Rina, Misa continues to attend the company's big meeting. As a food business, the leader is helping to prepare products to welcome the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. Everyone was excited, only Misa and Suzuki were quietly worried, because both of them knew well that the future of the Olympics that year would be cancelled, causing the company to suffer heavy losses. And yet, the heartbreaking memories of his previous life are full of him. In the same tasting session, the director of a large shopping mall was hospitalized with an allergy to peanuts. The person who handed out the ingredient list that year was Mirai. That incident caused her to be dismissed. Misa is determined not to let her friend get into the car crash this time. However, as soon as she came out of the raw material warehouse, she and Suzuki were accidentally caught by Arano. Arano was furious, blindly jealous. Suzuki did not give in because this person was the perpetrator who had pushed Misa downstairs. The anger made Arano prepare to act. At the same time, a lazy team leader crammed into the warehouse to take a lunch break and discovered a forgotten box of peanut dumplings. Not knowing the risk of allergies, he took out the cake box and invited the director to try it as an act of appeasement. And the person who was sent to get the ingredient board was the Misa. Will she be the one to bear the consequences this time? She adjusted her voice just enough for him to hear. Then she pretended to randomly run over and hugged him poetically and tenderly. Worth mentioning, Ayuae not only did not refuse, but he also wrapped his arms around her tightly. I'm sorry. Why do you have to apologize? Rina smiled charmingly. Seeing that man treat me especially tenderly, she knew that this fish had bitten the bait. Rina sneaks the house key from her best friend's book bag, Misa. Then he directly invited Ayuae to come to the end. Externally, the inner Ayuae seems to be torn between morality and desire. But the fact is, he has no morals whatsoever. It doesn't matter how much. Just turned around to call a car, and quickly set off. Watching the man immerse himself in his enchantment, Rina smiled happily. At that moment, the head of the Suzuki department appeared. This was the second time he covered her with an umbrella. Suzuki has always been like a prophet. Every time she fell, he was there at the right time. The player gradually let go. The tears that she was about to swallow came out again. Suzuki didn't tell her that he had also been reborn. This time, he wants to change the tragic outcome of both of them. At the bar, Misa told Suzuki why she had fallen in love with Ayuae. While Misa gradually fell asleep, Suzuki quietly confessed his deep feelings. A one-sided but sincere confession. Because she was careless, Rina gave the wrong table of ingredients to the guests. As a result, an important partner of the company. People with peanut allergies must be hospitalized. When the partner comes to ask for an explanation, the person in charge of the tasting not only did not admit his fault, but on the contrary, he blames all the blame on Rina. It wasn't until Mirai, the person in charge of distributing the ingredient table, standing up and admitting the fault instead of the new chief guest, is considered temporarily satisfied. However, Mirai insists that I will never make such a rudimentary mistake. There is definitely a misunderstanding here. But because the chief guest was in a hurry to deal with the problem, without bothering to listen to the explanation, he immediately pushed the Mirai out to take the blame. Misa, who was observing everything, looked at Mirai anxiously. Because of his previous life, it was because of this incident that Mirai was fired by the company. As the mass was about to give an explanation, then the head of the Suzuki department suddenly announced that he would conduct a comprehensive investigation of the incident. During the lunch break, Rina took the initiative to meet the head of the hotel. Then, during the tasting of that dish, the chief guest deliberately gave peanut dumplings to his partner to win his heart, then asked Rina to go get the ingredient list for her. Due to his usual sympathy for Rina, the guest chief deliberately helped her hide it, hoping to get a little benefit in return. Despite impregnating the man in front of her, Rina still pretended to comply, temporarily silent. That night, Rina went on to see Yuya, Misa's boyfriend. She had been clinging to him all this time, determined to win the happiness that belonged to her. What was shocking was that Yuya was not ashamed of this betrayal. However, when she heard Yuya say that she had no intention of breaking up with Misa, Rina's jealousy flared up once again. She absolutely could not let the mass be happy. After happily leaving Rina's house, Misa sweetly made an appointment to meet him. But after hanging up the phone, Yuya found out that she had been deceived. All the money he invested in a virtual currency was gone. He even surrounded the money outside to pour in, now completely empty-handed. In fact, Misa knew early on that cryptocurrency was a scam. In her previous life, it was also because of this that she had to take her own money to pay off her debts, make a deposit to buy a house after marriage. However, at that time, she continued to control money to help Yuya. Every time she meets Rina, Misa deliberately brags about her feelings for Yuya, makes him angry and unable to tell the truth. Another time, Rina helps Misa choose a dress to meet her future mother-in-law, deliberately choose a not very prominent one, hoping that the Misa will lose face. But this time Misa took the initiative to dress more boldly. She remembered very well in her previous life how her mother-in-law had treated her badly, criticizing, making it difficult for all sorts of things, pouring everything in the house on her head. Then he still criticized her for being clumsy. Thinking of that, Misa decided to repay twice the contempt she once had for her. As soon as they met, when Yuya's mother was still immersed in a dream of having a grandchild in the morning, then Misa appeared in a rebellious beautiful girl-style outfit that surprised the whole table. The mother-in-law was extremely disgusted, constantly bullying, requiring future daughters-in-law to be both housewives and good at work. Otherwise, don't dream of walking into their house. Misa's face stiffened as the mother began to speak ill of her parents. Because family is the biggest weakness, it is also a name that no one is allowed to offend. Misa now knew about Rina and Yuya sneaking back and forth. She didn't need to pretend anymore. She will destroy this wedding and change her own future. Misa decides to tear off Yuya's mask. Frankly said that she knew about his affair with his best friend Rina. Yuya was startled, panicked because he always thought Misa was an innocent, stupid girl. Just as Yuya was about to justify himself, Rina appeared and accidentally stabbed him in the muzzle of the gun he was dealing with. Obviously, Yuya's parents still prefer a gentle daughter-in-law like Rina to a fiery Misa. But after a little bit of resentment, Misa left with a feeling of relief as if she was a little burdened. Meanwhile, Misa's company is in crisis. During the product trial a few days ago, the chairman of the department store group ate dumplings containing peanuts and suffered from allergies and had to be hospitalized. The error was caused by a female employee who made a mistake in the ingredient list. It should have been written with peanuts, but it was given a white line board. The person who made the mistake was Rina, but the customer manager deliberately covered her up, put all the blame on the head of another girl named Mirai. Suzuki, who had been helpless in his previous life, could only watch Mirai as being killed. This time he was prepared. He installed cameras in every corner of the conference room to record the whole truth. And in the footage, the person holding the wrong board is clearly Rina, not Mirai. Suzuki immediately apologized sincerely to the chairman and his wife and asked for forgiveness. Everything was finally temporarily closed. Next, Suzuki came to calculate the book with the customer manager. He clearly knew that Rina was the wrong person, but he threw it all on the head of someone else, who was his sister. Through anger, Suzuki revealed Mirai's true identity as the sister of the head of the department, and also the daughter of the president. The head of the department was so frightened that he didn't dare to breathe hard. After handling everything, Suzuki hurriedly went to find Misa. But when he saw her in a provocative bad girl's outfit, he was surprised. The next morning, when Misa arrived at the company, Yuya still didn't let go, continuing to cling to forgiveness. But Misa planned revenge. She led Yuya to a crowded place, and then pretended to cry bitterly. As expected, the rumors spread as fast as fire. Immediately, Rina and Yuya became the #1 topic of conversation in the company. Rina didn't understand what was happening, feeling that everyone's gaze on her was very strange. I didn't know that she was standing in the middle of a storm of public opinion. Not stopping there, Rina was called to the Human Resources Department. She faces severe punishment of being fired. Rina left the company in disbelief, accidentally bumping into Misa, who was approaching. She hurriedly considers Misa to be the savior, begging her to help Suzuki. But Misa was ready to deliver the final blow. Misa hasn't stopped yet. During a large gathering, Rina announced, "I am pregnant with Yuya's child and have talked to his parents. We decided to keep the baby." Hearing this, Misa's tears filled the corners of her eyes. Seeing this, Rina was extremely pleased that she thought she had regained her happiness. But standing in the crowd, Suzuki realized the abnormality. Misa wasn't really suffering. She secretly gave a thumbs up to Suzuki. It was a sign that Rina had finally fallen into the trap that Misa had set. The real winner is the Misa. As soon as he left, Misa invited his friends to the restaurant to turn on champagne to celebrate, because she finally got rid of the boyfriend next to her. From now on, Misa can comfortably live a new life without worry. No more burdens of the past, no more unjust deaths. Manager Suzuki, who had witnessed the whole tragedy, was also happy for her. He escaped the curse of fate, and this time it won't be to witness the masses die again. But unlike Misa, who is enjoying a free life, Rina, who is about to get married, is in trouble again. Her future mother-in-law is a woman who is both strong and stingy. The mouth said that he bought high-quality Wagyu beef to congratulate, but Rina found a package of discounted beef in the trash. Not only that, but she also asked the two to get married before the fake belly was exposed. Drag loss of face with relatives. Misa happily drinks a few more drinks as if a little burden. As for Suzuki, she kept worrying about whether her ex-boyfriend's name would still come to her. Sure enough, just as he had suspected, that guy came to the door of the Misa house again. And when he couldn't meet her, he immediately checked the location on social networks and drove the car to where she was eating. At that time, Misa was carelessly taking pictures at her old classmate's restaurant, completely unaware of the approaching danger. As for his ex-lover, when he saw Misa smiling and talking happily with Suzuki, he was angry again. He didn't accept the fact that she had completely let go. But the more you chase, he was even more out of breath because the other two had returned to their old university to review their memories. The memories of youth rush back. In the past, Suzuki and Misa used to pass each other many times. Every step they take, every place they stand, hides the moments they have missed. Suzuki always blames himself. If only he had the courage to express it at that time, it would have been different. He secretly loved the masses for many years, yet escaping, time has passed like a blink of an eye. Now, as long as she could live and smile beside him, he was satisfied. Misa said, after completing the process of increasing the priesthood for his father, when she returns to school, she finds that the little turtle she used to raise has disappeared. Perhaps because the pond ran out of water, it died. Then, in desperation, a stranger helped her overcome. And when he returned to his old school, they were no longer two lonely people. Their world has changed. But just like the law of conservation of energy, when a person is happy, there will be another person who will suffer. That person is Rina. She demanded to choose the wedding dress by herself, to take care of all the procedures, take control of every little thing. As the weekend passed, Misa returned to the company and received a wedding invitation from Rina and Yuya, the ex-lover. Of course, she couldn't miss this beautiful play. But apart from her, no one in the company wants to hold that wedding that makes people blush. Meanwhile, Rina was furious because she refused to do anything all day. Her patience was running out more and more. She realized she was about to enter a marriage with no way out. Even accepted the speech at the wedding ceremony. At that moment, she received a message from Yuya again. I can't stand it anymore. Misa, dressed at home, walked into the high-end restaurant where he was sitting. Looking at his fake face, she only felt nauseous. Remembering the time when he pushed her down the balcony, almost died. Now he dared to say love again. It's ridiculous. He was also going to cause trouble. But Misa just looked at him with cold and contemptuous eyes. She went to the wedding of her ex-boyfriend and best friend. The heroine once had such a tragic ending. Now it has quietly changed its name to Misa, resurrected in a different identity. When he saw that the mass still looked uneasy, Suzuki, the only one who knows her secret, gently grabbed her hand as if to reassure her. Feeling that comfort, Misa gradually calmed down. Next was the wedding speech. When he saw people stepping on a strange stage, a person who has been betrayed, the whole hall was stunned. But the masses were prepared for this moment. As for today's two protagonists, Rina and Yuya, their faces stiffened, extremely unsightly. Misa turned her head and whispered something to Rina, but Rina didn't understand. I only felt a chill running down my spine. It was as if something was very unstable. After whispering, Misa immediately left. She didn't want to stay for another second. In this place of lies. The gloom in the teeth rises, but there was no one around to share. She could only swallow it herself. All emotions. Suzuki suggests, if you don't mind, come to my house. When he opened the door, Suzuki greeted him happily. Make tea, pour water, everything is attentive. While cleaning, Misa suddenly discovered a small turtle in Suzuki's house. Unexpectedly, the turtle was still alive, and it was Suzuki who kept it for a long time. It turned out that the person who had given it to her. Hope the old years are standing in front of him again. Misa, embarrassed. Brother, have you ever kissed anyone? Suzuki didn't expect her to ask so directly. The blush at the end of her head avoided her gaze. Misa was a little disappointed, but then I laughed. Everything happened. It's natural, it's warm. In stark contrast to that tenderness, the life of the newlyweds and newlyweds on the other side, immersed in chaos. As soon as they moved into their new house, Rina and Ayuie had an argument. Fierce just because of the arrangement of things. Even so, Rina still tried to keep face, call Misa to brag. He even plans to ask Misa to come and help clean up. But when she called, she realized. Misa changed his number, quit all chat groups, clear traces from social networks. It's like evaporating from their lives. The more she thought about it, the more uneasy Rina became. She immediately ran to Misa's old apartment, only to see the checkout notice. Anger surged and she followed social media, discovered that the mass was on its way to participate. Party with Suzuki. So Rina followed her all the way to the apartment complex, secretly watched them enter the house together. At that time, there was only one thought in Rina's mind. Misa had scratched his trap. She gradually realized, from the gentle advice, from an unusual step back, Misa had been quietly manipulating her, step by step pushing her into Yuya's arms. A loveless marriage, full of regrets. Rina was like a beast cornered, pushed by emotion. I will definitely take revenge, it'll make you pay the price. Due to a sudden move, Misa moved into the apartment next to the Suzuki house. On the night of surplus in 2016, Mirai and Yuto also came to celebrate the new year with them. The group played until midnight, finally fell asleep on the sofa. Suzuki and Misa really breathed a sigh of relief into the group. Now Rina is married to Yuya. It means that her life has been saved. As for the Masa after the resurrection, she is no longer a resigned and patient girl. She is strong, assertive, and understands that life is precious, so we must cherish the people around us even more. After a while, Suzuki took out the small gift, a general health checkup package. Thinking back to my previous life with stomach cancer, Misa panicked and went to check. She wondered silently, why did Suzuki care so much about her health? Every little detail also shows he knew very well about her future. Could it be that he was also a person who had been reborn? After the weekend off, when returning to the company, Misa heard the shocking news. The husband of the head of the adultery department. Due to her closeness to the head of the department, she decided to help. She and the head of the department returned home. As soon as he opened the door, he saw a strange pair of shoes. The laughter of the head of the department resounded. From the bedroom, mixed with a shrill female voice. Misa stood there, it felt like, have experienced this scene. The other thing is, the person who was betrayed last time was herself. Now he is the head of the department. Just saved the head of the department from the shock. The head of the department suddenly hugged his stomach in pain. Then he fell down the stairs. When I heard the doctor say that the cause was pregnancy and stress, Misa understood one thing. After she comes back to life, the misfortunes. Without turning to Rina. But it fell to the innocent person who was the head of the department. A few days later, the results of the health examination. The head of the department was given. Misa once wished for a free future, but it is not based on robbing others of their happiness. Unexpectedly, in the circle of causal discussion, the head of the department became her replacement again. Suffer a tragic fate. She put a mysterious spice in her husband's food. After stirring well, she quietly, waiting for him to return home, because just now she had discovered a terrible secret. She was still gentle. The star rope immediately turned over and was still disrespectful. I agreed to get married just because I thought he has the ability to invest. But now looking back, not only did he not have the courage, but there is also debt to plant quality. Iria hurried personality, selling the current apartment, moving to the old house to live economically. But unexpectedly, the whole conversation between them, Iria's mother overheard her. The dream of carrying a grandchild is shattered right in front of his eyes. She was so shocked that she fell to the ground. But there is no need for Rina to take action. The mass was too painful at this time. She used to think when Rina got married, replace yourself with Iria, then her fate has changed. No more tragedies. But no, the tragedy fell on someone else's head. As the head of the department, replaced her with cancer. Instead, she was betrayed. Misa could not continue to be silent. After work, she was going to find Suzuki to talk to. Seeing that the office lights are still on, she called to tell her that she was waiting downstairs. A voice that sent chills down his spine. Well, Iria, that rebellious man, still silently watching the mess. He muttered obsessive words. Consider yourself the master of the mess. The claim that just having the heart of the mass is enough is meaningless. Misa ran away in panic. But Iria's scream. There was a commotion behind him. Misa, stand there. Don't try to get out of my hands. In times of crisis, Suzuki rushed to save her. If you want the girl you love, Misa, to survive, Suzuki has decided to take it with. All the evildoers die together. He made a meticulous plan. First, he handed over all the assets, saving a lifetime for a classmate. The old of the mass, when the mass opens the savings number, she couldn't help but be surprised to realize the account holder's name has been changed to his name. She had a hunch like he was silently arranged for his own death. That hunch is not wrong at all. As smart as Mirai she came to. From the confirmed search history, Suzuki booked a flight ticket to Toyama. Misa discovered one thing. It's even more shocking in computers. Suzuki has marked all the milestones. Changed his life, even including the whole future of the mass. In the first life after the funeral of the mass, Suzuki brings a heavy mood to nursing home in Toyama. This is the place where he once met the name of the car. In a previous life, and this time he decided to. We'll end it all there. After that, Iano also hurriedly took a taxi to chase after him. While breathing heavily, he asked, "Where's Misa? Where is she?" Suzuki just calmly said, "Get in the car first." Everything originally seems normal, but when the car running to the big bridge, Suzuki was surprised. Hit the accelerator hard. Iano at this time just realized that Suzuki was going to pull. He died together, but at that moment, Misa angrily pulled the car door, dragging. Both of them went out. Crazy thing. Are you going to die with him? She didn't expect Suzuki to want to die with Iano. At this time, Suzuki does not hide it again. He confessed angrily to make the old breather live. Now that she is dead, Rina has gone to the hospital, nursing the elderly, taking the biological grandmother of the mass. Without a warning, heaven fell. The snow is white, but the old lady can only put on a delicate sweater. It was Rina's mother's birthday, but what she was worried about was not her biological mother, but what is it and the old and weak grandmother of others. Meanwhile, the intentional post of Rina on social media caught the eye. By Misa and Suzuki, they discovered Rina took the name of an acquaintance to bring his grandmother. Misa came out of the nursing home. Two people immediately rushed up the mountain to search in the snowstorm. On a mountainside, Suzuki, seeing the wheelchair left out of place on the side of the road, he immediately ran to check. But the chair was empty. At that moment, Misa heard a call, vaguely echoed in the distance. It seemed to be a voice. By Rina. She didn't have time to wait for Suzuki. Immediately rushed away in the white snow. By the time Suzuki came back, Misa, gone in a corner of a deserted mountain. Absent. Suzuki was lucky to find grandmother. Rina is recording it again. The neck of the mass, the squeeze did not let go. As soon as the situation seems dangerous, extremely, a call rang out from afar. Suzuki, his appearance made Rina let go, but Yuya, this party was not so lucky. He walked on the mountain road, remote, just struggling to find one convenience store for temporary residents at the same time. From the other end of the line, his mother's voice. Mrs. Kazue stammered, bullied her son and whispered to reveal. A new plan bright, just takes Rina to die to get the money. Parachute compensation and right on. At that moment Rina suddenly appeared. In front of him, but in fact she was already seeing through his fake face. Misa and Suzuki have returned home safely. In the last moments of his life, Yuya called Misa. His voice choked up, admitting that all mistakes were because of his own cause. He didn't know how to appreciate her. Destroyed everything with his own hands. But soon after, the sound of a collision. The Lord must have sounded at the other end of the line. At first, he merely wanted to kill his wife Rina to steal the money. Parachute insurance, he didn't expect that. It was that woman who soon saw through. Plot and act first at hotel. Suzuki sits in a hidden corner, ordering a cup of coffee. The heart is mixed. Insecure Rina with her appearance. That nothing happened like that. Quickly escaped the pursuit of the police. In another development, Tomita. As soon as he brought Rina to a hidden corner, he set up. Revealing his true face, he laughed and said, implicitly, is this worth it? He had nothing left in his hands, only Rina is the only one willing to stay by. Next to him, therefore, he vowed to do. All in all, leading Suzuki to a abandoned warehouse, but all the way. However, she refused to reveal it. Where is Rina? Suzuki starts. Avoid the senses but not have time to react. The blade. Rina suddenly crashed. Suzuki was so worried that he lied. Unable to dodge in time, he was injured. Brother painfully watched another car slowly come by. In the car, the Misa was lying. Unconscious, but he had no strength. She could only look at the other two men carrying her away. The car finally stopped. In a deserted amusement park where, having a giant spinning wheel that used to be the best memory. Their childhood, even though they know each other since he was 7 years old, but this is the first time they frankly opened their hearts to each other. Taking that opportunity, Misa revealed to Rina the fact that she was resurrected as a person who has died and has the opportunity to do it again. From the beginning, Suzuki, full body, injured, still risking his life to run over, but it was too late at this time. The only thing he could do was steal it. The key to saving the other two only. When Misa's eyes looked at her, no longer resentful reprimand, but compassion and tenderness. Rina understood it was time to let go. The last moment, Rina's breath weakening. However, what she saw, not heaven but mold. The face of the Misa, and as fate would have it, put Rina is still lonely in the end. Forever, the human heart is full of faces. Although he has repeatedly wished for his life. But that moment when witnessing tragedy is unfolding right in front of us. Misa. He couldn't smile contentedly. Suzuki, the person who brought the spear quickly again, suddenly collapsed. He was immediately taken. Went to the emergency hospital, but the result was unpredictable. Not very optimistic in one place. Other Yuya, who used to cause the accident, could not be overcome already. September 2025 is also coming. The time that was once set as the day of mass will be passed away, but now both of them, peacefully dating, walking hand in hand. On a familiar path they glance at. A taxi. A car that once carried a shadow. Fateful figure Misa's father stands at. In the distance, smiling and waving goodbye to the two. At this time, Suzuki quietly took it out. The ring has been prepared for a long time. I don't. It is necessary to ask because the answer is already early. There is in the hearts of both of them.